When most Oklahomans think of corruption, they think of things happening in the government, and actually they'd be right. But there's bigger corruption taking place in Oklahoma, that taking place in campaigns and elections. The subject is dark money. We are speaking to the expert. The former mayor of Luther, Jenni White, joins us in studio. I'm Andrew Spino on special assignment with Project 46. Joining us now, Jenni White, and I'm not even sure how to introduce you because you've done so many things. Rope, you were mayor of
Luther.
Luther. You were. You've done so many things. You've been very active in the community. Jenni White, tell us about yourself.
Oh, I thought you just did. You pretty much covered. Well, you forgot mother, farmer, dog person. I don't know. There's number of things over the years.
Okay, but politically engaged to say
oh yes,
the least.
I would have to say.
Have you always been?
No.
What sparked your interest?
No, and nobody ever asked me that question. So thank you. Yeah, thank you. Actually, I will never forget. It was one of those weird things. So my husband and I have always been kind of engaged. To the point of just like we'd watch the Sunday morning shows and, that kind of stuff and kind of pay, and sort of pay attention back when you read the paper and, things like that. Well, one day I was literally working out in my bedroom and I had the television on. I was watching Fox Morning News, and they were talking about giving a prescription. Remember the prescription bill where it was like prescriptions for everybody, and they were talking about, this was great. And yes, correct.
Vaguely.
Yeah.
Or W.
Yeah. And so I remember sitting there and I just kind of stopped and I was like, okay, wait a second. How is that going to work? And it just hit me suddenly that I had really kind of disengaged from, paying as much attention as we used to. We had 2 kids at home, 4 kids at home actually at the time. And so, you get kind of,
you don't have time to
stuff. And then it's like, who cares? I just need to make sure somebody isn't barfing on somebody else and they have dinner, right? So you just don't think about
those are the 2 hallmarks of a good mother.
No, you just don't think about those kinds of things. But then when Obama got elected, and right up to the election, I was doing all this research on him. I'm like, he's a Marxist. The whole thing really scared me. Because I thought this country is taking a turn that I'm not familiar with. I'm an 80s kid, right? We just didn't have, these things happen. Yeah, have these things happen. So I really got very, very involved. And as a matter of fact, the Tea Party, the great big Tea Party, the taxpayers.
Yeah, like the 2009.
Yes, where everybody went to the nation's capital. So my husband and I actually went.
Oh, no kidding.
And we did.
Was that like your first political engagement?
That was our first.
Start like a precinct meeting?
No, we just went straight to the top.
Okay. So what was it like?
It was amazing. It really was. There were just people. It was very inspiring, and it was just amazing. It made you feel not alone. And then we got back, and Glenn Beck had done the 912 project. I don't know if you're familiar with that or not. And so we helped create the Oklahoma City 912 project, and we did that in 2010. And so we've been, just really involved, and mostly anymore, he works and then just says, here, you go do it. So that's kind of between homeschooling the kids and running a small farm and doing. That's what I do.
You got enough on your plate already.
That's what you do.
But you do devote a lot of time to this. And,
I do.
And I always associate you with education because I think that's where you first hit my radars when you were working against Common Core.
Right.
But you have a wealth of interest beyond that. But you've run for office.
Yes.
You've won. You've lost campaigns.
Yes.
Like most candidates do. You win some, you lose some, right?
Not right in a row, but hey.
Sometimes that's the hallmark of a good leader.
Hey.
But it's the research that you've been doing lately into campaigns and elections that, if I understand you correctly, have you even more concerned about what's happening in the government.
Yep.
Or perhaps it sets a stage for what happens in the government. But what happens in campaigns and elections is critical, and I don't think it's on a lot of people's radars. Explain what your concerns are.
Well, I think a lot of people are concerned about election integrity, after the Trump election. I think people are like, does my vote really matter? But we're thinking about voting machines. We're thinking about, all of that kind of thing, the mechanics.
Right.
But we're not thinking about people who buy elections. And by buying elections, I mean this. I would say, and I probably between 40 and 60% of the voter, and let's just talk about Oklahoma, because I really don't care about outside right now. Let's just talk about Oklahoma.
Focus on
so between 40 and 60% are people who aren't engaged. I mean, they vote because they feel like it's their civic duty and they feel like they have to do it, and it's something we do this all the time.
Right.
But they don't really know what the issues are. They don't really know even who their elected officials are, who they're voting for.
Right. Or what's at stake in the election.
Exactly. But
that's why I hate get out the vote drives.
Yes. I mean, that's exactly right, because all you're doing is shoving a bunch of people who really aren't even interested in educating themselves about the issues into
the candidates. Don't vote.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought. But boy, you get in trouble for saying that, because voting is your civic duty.
Not here on Project 46, but I digest. We're talking about the money flowing into campaigns and elections.
But here's the thing. So if you're not an educated voter, right, and you haven't gone out and sought information from the people that are campaigning, then you're looking at those cards that come in your mail, right? And you're looking and you're going, oh, I liked Jake Merrick. I didn't know he was a fake and voted for that. I'm not voting for Jake Merrick anymore, right? So what ends up
to something specific?
I actually am, because Jake Merrick was a senator here in Oklahoma.
Right.
Won election in
Yukon?
Yukon, Edmond, West, Oklahoma City, and it was a special election. Stephanie Vice's old seat, correct? So he was actually about $320,000 was spent against him in his election. One senator seat.
Why?
Well, mainly it was over vouchers. He was not a proponent of vouchers. Several organizations, including Oklahoma Council for Public Affairs, OCPA, put in a lot of money to, help get him out of that seat. They supported Kristen Thompson, who was running as his opponent. It really frustrated me, because I'd worked with Jake on several different things, and seeing him get out like that, and he just a nice guy. So I thought, you know what? I want to know what is going on here. And so that's kind of when I springboarded, however you say, into looking at sprungboarded into elections.
If it's not, I'm going to copyright it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, let's get into where the money is coming from, who is supplying it, how it's working in the campaigns, and what, your everyday run-of-the-mill honest candidate, what options do they have to respond? Okay, we're going to get into that with Jenni White here on Project 46. We'll be right back. Here at Project 46, we are trying to hook up conservative consumers with conservative business owners, and we're succeeding. So if you'd like to sponsor this show or any one of the great shows on Project 46, just click on the link in the description below.